If you've never played Rising World before, this guide should help you get going fairly quickly. We'll introduce you to a few control keys, how to get food and water, collect some basic resources, make a couple of crafting stations, some simple lighting, and we'll introduce you to using blocks. The game uses a number of control keys, but for this guide you only need to use a few of them. Using your mouse to steer, use the standard motion keys, W to move forward, S for backward, A to slide left, and D to slide right. Holding the Shift key while using any motion key makes you run in that direction. The I key opens and closes your inventory. Now the F key performs different functions depending on the cursor state of the mouse cursor. Normally, the cursor stays at the center of your screen as a little plus sign crosshair which simply pinpoints what you're looking at. If you look closely, you'll notice that sometimes it turns into a hand, indicating that when you click the F key, that item will be picked up and placed into your inventory. This is commonly used to pick up fallen logs, tomatoes on the vine, apples from apple trees, and if you're lucky, even watermelons. If it turns into ZZZ, it means that you are looking at a sleep item and clicking F will cause you to sleep. If it turns into shears, well, that's what it will do, placing wool into your inventory. Now before we get going, let's take a closer look at our inventory. When we first spawn, we are blessed with a pickaxe for digging and an axe for cutting wood. The first 5 slots represent your hotbar. When you select a hotbar slot during the game, the item in that slot appears in your hand. You can select which slot by using your keyboard to type a number from 1 to 5. If you prefer, you can use your mouse wheel. So here we go. We won't bother with meat for now because we're not yet equipped to cook it. Plus, as the game stands now, killed animals never respawn. Fortunately, being a vegetarian isn't so bad. There are plenty of edible things growing all around us. And as we'll see in another video, growing crops is pretty simple. We've got some tomatoes, we got some apples, and ooh, what's this over here? I never turn down wool. Our goal at the moment is to gather food and wood. I'll speed up parts of this video so you can see more of what we're doing in a shorter time. Cutting down trees just takes a few whacks with an axe, then you have to chop it up into logs that you can pick up. It's not always easy in this tall grass. And don't forget the stump, that's one more log you can use. Ah, watermelon. That's our best source of water. We're starting a nice supply of both food and water. Let's repeat the process at a higher speed. There's times I wish I could play the game this fast. Okay, time to do something with our logs. We open our inventory and select the crafting option. This allows us to turn logs into lumber, which will come in handy really soon now. We're going to start a temporary base from which we can acquire more resources in preparation for finding a good place for a more permanent base. There's a lot of ways to go about this, but let's just carve out a small cave which will give us shelter and at the same time give us some new materials. This is also a good way to learn about using the pickaxe. I'll throw in a little time lapse just to speed things up. We've reached the point where it would be good to have a couple of workbenches. We'll start with a basic workbench. We can do this inside our personal inventory. Once it's made, we can place it anywhere for now, since we can pick it up later and move it to a more suitable location. Placing an object is done by holding down the right mouse key. This workbench allows us to make more crafting stations of different types. Let's go for the block bench. Again, we can place it anywhere. I'll show you how to rotate objects in a few minutes. We should enlarge our cave a bit more before we move stuff inside, but we'll need some light to work by. We can make a number of different types of torches, but for this kind of work, I prefer the garden torch, since it does not require a torch holder and can be picked up and moved anytime we want. That's better. Now we can see what we're doing, so let's get back to digging. Let's make some stone blocks. This part isn't absolutely necessary, but it's going to make our cave a whole lot more comfortable, and it's good practice. I noticed the icons in the lower right corner of our screen here are telling us that we're getting low on food and water. So let's just take a quick minute to put a watermelon in our hotbar. We will select that to put it on our hand. We will click and hold the right mouse button, which cuts the melon into slices. We do it again and we start eating it. You'll notice the icon on the lower right corner has gotten much greener. That means we have water. We could keep eating watermelon for food, but why waste it? Let's eat something else. Notice the next icon over with the knife and fork have also brightened up now, so we're back in good shape. Now let's see what we can do with our stone blocks. The interface for placing blocks is so nice, I just had to show you now. We can place blocks in the familiar Minecraft way, but it gets better. If we click and drag the left mouse button, we can lay a row of blocks all at once. At the end of your drag, keep holding down the left button and click the right mouse button. Neat, huh? Also notice that the blocks can embed themselves in the terrain itself. That's the coolest thing ever. Now that we have a nice floor, let's bring our benches inside. We just look at the bench, press and hold the F key, and that's it. Do the same thing for the other bench, and it's putting them right into our inventory. Now we just carry them back into the cave. Drag your workbench into your hotbar and place it as you would do anything else. But here's how we rotate now. We use the left and right arrow keys. It looks continuous, but it's actually in about 15-degree increments, so it's not hard to get it lined up exactly with the way your blocks are facing. Click and hold the right mouse button to finish placing. We'll put some finishing touches on our little cave here before we add one more item. Now the only thing our little base is missing is a sleeping station. Although we do have enough wool to make a bed, that was kind of a stroke of luck, so let's pretend we didn't and use the basic shelter. Sleeping through the night in this shelter will reset our spawn point, which makes dying just a little bit less painful. And it's always good to see that sun come back up. There is so much more to the game, but that was a pretty good first day, I think.